Okay, so yes, good morning, students. So now we will start the continuation of our chapter, that is microorganisms, right? A friend or a foe. So let's start. What we will do right now is first we will recall what we learned in our previous class, right? Okay. So yes, organisms, they play different roles, right? Like some microorganisms were friendly microorganisms, and they played in a role in fertilization, decomposition, manure formation, and then there were some harmful microorganisms also we discussed in our previous class. In this class, we are going to discuss something new about these microorganisms, right? So let's move on to our next slide. In this slide, you have to first observe what you are able to see, and then you have to share your observations. Okay, I will give you 5 seconds to observe, and then you have to share your observation. Okay, you can write in the chat box also if you want to write something about your observations till then. Okay, so let's see, what did you observe? Yes, you are giving some right responses. Yes, I can see. So yes, you all observed the food, right? In this slide, we can see some food. Yes, but this food is getting contaminated, right? Contaminated means it is getting spoiled, right? Here you can see in this bread, there is a fly sitting. So obviously, if some fly or some insects, it sits on our food, we will not eat it because it has gotten spoiled. Okay, what about this food? This food is also contaminated, right? Because as you can see, this whole meat has gotten blackened somewhere in some regions. So this means that all these food have become unsuitable for eating. So this means that food has gotten contaminated. Okay, so now we will move on ahead. So now coming on to our next picture, what you can observe in this picture? Yes, that a person is sneezing. Yes, very good. One person is sneezing onto another person. Okay. Yes, very good. So can we say that the person who is sneezing, this person is commuting his commuting or like he's communicating his disease from himself to the other person by sneezing on them? Yes or no? Yes, because you must have noticed, like whenever a single person is suffering from cough and cold in a family, then next day and the whole week, the whole family is suffering from that same disease, right? So, which means that we are communicating from these diseases, they are communicating from one person to another, right? So, yes, the topic that we are going to study now is the communicable diseases. So, let's see what these communicable diseases are. As you can understand it by the name, it is meaning communicable, means it can be spread from one person to another. We got this much from this name. So let's see something more in detail, like pathogens. Pathogens are the harmful microorganisms we read in our previous class. They enter our body through the air we breathe, right? Like how these pathogens or harmful microorganisms, they are entering our body. Like first through they may enter through air, they may enter through water when we drink water, contaminated water, or they may enter through the food we eat, like contaminated food. They can also get transmitted by direct contact with the infected person or carried by an animal. So these are the various ways through which these pathogens can enter our body, right? What were the different ways through which these communicable pathogens are entering? First was air, when we are breathing contaminated air, when we are drinking contaminated water, when we are eating contaminated food, or if we are getting in direct contact with the infected person, as you saw in the earlier picture, like a person was sneezing on another person, right? And or if you are touching the person who is sick, sometimes some diseases spread through direct contact also. And or it can also, these diseases can also spread, or these pathogens, they can also spread through animals. So these are all the different ways through which these diseases can spread. So see, there are so many ways. That's why our parents are always telling us to be careful of such diseases, right? So next, let's come on to the second point. Microbial diseases can spread from an infected person to a healthy person through air, water, food, or physical contact, are called as communicable diseases. So this is the definition of disease, right? So this was all about communicable disease. Now we will see some more details. This was the general introduction about communicable disease.
Now coming to the more detailed part. So here, as you can see in this slide, you can see examples of such diseases includes cholera, common cold, chickenpox, and tuberculosis. Okay, so these are the different diseases, communicable diseases. So when a person suffering from common cold sneezes, fine droplets of moisture, as you can see, these fine droplets of moisture carrying thousands of viruses, as these viruses are also shown, even though they are not this big, but just for your understanding, they are made this way, are spread in the air, right? And these viruses, they may enter the body of a healthy person while breathing, and then they cause infection. So this is how the communicable diseases are happening from one person to another. So this was one way, right? Okay, so now we will move on ahead. Okay, so now comes the curiosity question for you all. So how do you think you will prevent the spread of these communicable diseases? You have to come up with your own ways. So now I will give you 5 seconds to think, and then you have to answer in the chat box. Like, which methods do you think can prevent these diseases? Like washing our hands? Yes, very good. I can see your correct responses. By not coming in direct contact with the patient? Okay, yes. By eating washed vegetables and fruits? Yes, very good. By not eating like from this roadside stalls? Okay, that will be difficult, but it is important to be to eat hygienic food and water, so that we our body does not gets contaminated with the communicable diseases, right? So let's move ahead and see some questions. Okay, the microbial diseases that can spread from an infected person to a healthy person through air, water, and what was the third point? Air, water, and direct contact. Or one more method was there. What was that method? Okay, physical contact, direct contact. Yes, so these were the different, or food also are called as communicable disease. So yes, you all answered it correctly. So now we have to give a few examples of communicable diseases. We mentioned earlier, what were the examples? Yes, like there was, yes, cholera was there. Yes, tuberculosis was there. Chickenpox was there. Okay, yes, very good. So yes, you all answered it correctly. So now we will move on to our next slide. Okay, so yes, coming to our next slide, what can you observe in this slide? So first you have to observe it for 5 seconds, then we will discuss.
So yes, in this slide, what all things can you see? Yes, in this slide we can again see that there are some roadside stalls in here, and yes. So do you think like do you eat from these roadside stalls or not? Yes. So what do your parents say? Like they allow you to eat easily, or they make an objection? No, you cannot eat it. And if they are making objection, what reasons are they giving you? Yes, you can write your answers in the chat box. Yes, they are saying that it is unhygienic. You will get your stomach upset the next morning. Yes, very good. Okay, so what do you think this fly is doing here? By like how this fly is contributing to these diseases? Yes, 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 very good. These flies are spreading these diseases. So this is one of the important carrier of the diseases, right? So now, yes. So what we are going to study now is the carrier of the diseases, the different carriers. Not just the flies are the carriers, but there are different organisms other than flies who carries different diseases, right? So let's see what are these different carriers of the disease other than flies. So first, we will see the definition of these carriers, right? So what is the definition of the carrier? That there are some insects and animals which acts as a carrier of diseases causing microbes, right? So carriers are usually including which organisms? Insects and animals. So you have to remember it, right? So now we will move on ahead and see some more carriers. Okay, coming on to the next slide. Yes. So let's see what this slide has to say about the carriers. The flies, what they do is they sit on the garbage. As you can see, there are many flies sitting, right? And flies are always there where there is a lot of garbage. And animals excreta, they also sit on animals excreta. And from there the pathogens stick to their bodies. The harmful microorganisms, they stick to their bodies. And when these flies sit on uncovered food, as you can see here, so many flies are sitting in this piece of bread, right? They may transfer these pathogens from this garbage to this food. And then what will happen? This food will get contaminated. So whoever eats the contaminated food is likely to get sick. So what happens when you eat the contaminated food? Yes, you can answer in the chat box. Yes. Our stomachs get upset. We get diarrhea sometimes. Yes. So there are loose motions the next day. Okay. Yes. Yes. So you all answered it correctly. So now we will move ahead and see some more details about these carriers, right? So what it is advisable, what should we do to avoid these carriers to contaminate our food? It is advisable to always keep our food covered. As you can see here, the lid is put above the food so that we can avoid consuming the uncovered items of the food, so that we cannot take the contaminated food, right? This is one of the ways how we can save our food from being contaminated by these carriers. So now moving on ahead, let's see some more details. Like let's see some more carriers, right? As we saw, housefly was one of the carrier of this disease. So what are the two other carriers as you can see on the screen? So first is female Anopheles. This is a mosquito. This mosquito carries the parasite of malaria, that is Plasmodium. You have to remember the name of the carrier, that is female Anopheles mosquito. And which parasite does it carry? It carries the parasite of malaria, Plasmodium, right? And coming on to our next factor, our next carrier of the disease is female Anopheles mosquito. It acts as a carrier or dengue virus of the dengue virus. So both of these carriers are very dangerous because they are carrying dangerous parasites with them. Okay, so this was all about carriers. So are you all clear with the concept? If yes, you can write in the chat box yes, and if you have any doubt, you can ask. And then we will move on ahead to our curiosity question for this topic. Okay, so now I think there is one question from the student, like why these are only the female mosquitoes? Okay, female mosquitoes and not the males one. Okay, for this, I think I will look up for the right answer tomorrow, and then tomorrow I will answer this question of yours. Okay, this doubt of yours, tomorrow I will answer. So let's move on ahead to our curiosity question this time. So let's see what our curiosity question is. So how can we control the spread of malaria or dengue? Let's see now. As you all know, these diseases are very deadly, right? So how we can control the spread of these diseases? As we cannot kill every mosquito because it is very hard. So we can kill their breeding grounds so that no more mosquitoes are produced from the parent mosquitoes, right? We can throwing away the collected water where they usually live, and emptying out the old containers of water, and we can keep our surrounding clean and hygienic. This way we can spread the malaria or dengue. And also we can use the mosquito net while sleeping, and also we can apply the Odomos. There is a cream and other things, mosquito repellents that we can use. Okay, so this was all about our curiosity question where you answered it correctly. Now coming on to our evaluation question for this topic. So let's see. The most common carrier of communicable diseases is which one of them? Ant, housefly, dragonfly, or spider? Yes, you are giving right responses. It is housefly. And coming to the second question, carrier of malaria causing protozoan is female Anopheles mosquito, cockroach, housefly, or butterfly? Which one of them is the carrier of malaria causing protozoan? Yes, it is female Anopheles mosquito. Yes, so you all gave the right answers. So now I think you all are clear with the concept. We will move on ahead. Okay, let's move on ahead and see. So now there is a very important table that we have to see, and we will discuss this table in detail, right? Let's see what this table is telling us about. Okay, so first column is telling us about the human diseases, right? There are different human diseases mentioned and the causative microorganism, like which microorganism is causing. Like it is bacteria, virus, protozoans, and the mode of transmission, like how these diseases they get transferred from one person to another. Like some get through air, some get through water, some get through contact. Okay, and what are the preventive measures? How we can avoid these diseases? Like all these diseases are like tuberculosis, measles, chickenpox, and polio. These are caused by certain microorganisms that are bacteria and viruses, and the mode of transmission is air and water, and different physical contact also is there. What are the preventive measures? What we have to do is keep the patient in complete isolation so that these diseases do not transfer from the infected person to a normal person, right? And keep the personal belongings of the patient away from those of the others. Vaccination to be given at the suitable age. If there is like if their age is suitable, we can give them vaccinations also. Now coming to the second, we can see these two diseases, cholera and typhoid. These both of these diseases are caused by the bacteria, right? And what are the mode of transmission? Water and contaminated food. So what are the preventive measures? Maintain personal hygiene and good sanitary habits. Consume properly cooked food and boiled drinking water. Because these are caused by food and water, so we have to like properly check our food so that we are not taking some contaminated food. And we also have to get vaccinated also. Now coming to the fourth human disease, that is hepatitis A. It is caused by a virus and mode of transmission is water. What happens in this disease is drink boiled drinking water and provide yourself with a vaccination. Now coming to the fourth disease, that is malaria. So malaria is caused by which organism, microorganism? Protozoans. And what is the mode of transmission for malaria? That is mosquito, right? And what are the preventive measures that we should use? Should use mosquito nets and repellents and spray insecticides and control breedings of mosquitoes by not allowing water to collect in the surroundings, just as we discussed earlier. So these are some of the diseases and their preventive measures. So let's move ahead and see our curiosity question this time. Based on this table, there will be something like that. So let's move on ahead. Okay, so let's come to the curiosity question. So what are the basic preventive measures that should be taken so that a person do not or does not get infected by these communicable diseases? So what are the preventive measures a person can take? Yes, we all discussed right now, like destroying the breeding grounds of the mosquitoes. Yes, very good. And what else? Yes, taking vaccination. Yes, very good. And what else? Drinking boiled water and eating properly cooked food. Yes, very good. So yes, you all gave the right answers. Now coming on to our question. So diseases caused through air as a mode of transmission is, which disease is caused by air? Yes, it is. Yes, you all give the right answer. It is tuberculosis. So yes, you all are right. So now I think you all are clear with the concept. So now coming to the summary part, let's summarize our whole lesson for today. We discussed earlier, we discussed about communicable diseases. There were different communicable diseases which spread through contact. Then we read about the actions of carriers in transmitting diseases, and then diseases causing microorganisms in human beings. So this was all we discussed in today's class. Coming on to the homework part, these are the two questions that you have solved in your notebooks. And then coming to the activity. In activity, what you have to do is you have to ask your parents and make a list of all the diseases against which you have been vaccinated, right? There would be a card at your home, a report card type file where your doctor must have marked all the vaccinations that you have got. Then find the causative microorganisms of each of the disease and paste their pictures on a chart. So you have to do this activity. So now, are you clear with the homework? Yes, you can write in the chat box. So yes, you are clear. So now I will be ending my class here. Thank you for attending, and we will meet in next class with some more interesting topic. Thank you.